Let's try that one more time, shall we? What's up, everyone? Aaron Nibbler here with Cheesehead TV and your extra cheese for Monday afternoon. The Packers back on the practice field. Litany of guys out. I'll go through it real quick. Alan Lazard, Equiminius St. Brown, Kevin King, Ibrahim Campbell, Curtis Bolton, Oren Burks, Malcolm Johnson, Kavion Ento, Greg Roberts, Cole Madison, Corey Lindsley, the one new addition to the list, Jimmy Graham, and Reggie Gilbert. All sat out. All would be expected probably to miss Thursday night's game. David Bakhtiari and Rashad and Gary both back on the practice field. Gary in particular, it's good to see given the number of injuries we saw him dealing with last Thursday night in the preseason contest against the Raiders. Sorry to everybody for the technical issues there on the wrong YouTube account. I only got like 5 different YouTubes set up on this computer. Good to see everybody in the live chat. Hello, everybody. What's up? Nice job calling out Doug Gottlieb this weekend. You know, it's really funny when you get caught up in that, because I literally just had a kind of a visceral, like, I saw his take and I thought it was dumb. And I just said, look, Andrew Luck just tearfully went through his reasonings for stepping away from the game at the podium. Take a look at this and try and reconsider what you're saying here. That's the spirit in which I was saying that. I mean, because I thought it was dumb, but I don't think Doug is dumb. I don't think he's an awful human being, but holy cow, now that I put that out there and it's one of the first responses to his tweet, I am tagged in each and every response that every human on the internet is sending him. And my God, people are terrible. I love the fact that people want to call Doug a horrible human being by being horrible human beings while doing so. That's just stupid in my estimation. But hey, it's the internet. Everybody's got a voice to show their ass and show how terrible they are. You may wonder what all those lights are. Like, this LiveX promo runs all the time in the studio. So you'll see some flashes while I'm doing this. Let's see. Do you miss the Iron Man streak? All the Rodgers injury worry. It's old, but understood. I mean, I have a fond place in my heart for Brett Favre and the fact that he was always out there week after week, certainly. But, you know, that's celebrated because it is such a rare thing, you know, and we'll never see the likes of it again. I don't, begrudge Aaron Rodgers because he plays football and gets hurt. Everybody does, you know. Yeah, is it hard to worry about your quarterback going down, knowing that if he does, your season's probably over? Yeah, of course. But welcome to life in the NFL for every other franchise while Favre was playing. You know, it's hard to get too upset about it. Sack prediction for the Smiths. Good question, Devo. Give me 11 for Za'Darius and 6 or 7 for Preston. It was really nice to see Luck go out at the peak of his career and not be a huge disappointment. Well, Chuck, it was nice to see him have a season that he led his team to the playoffs. Kind of like you say, go out on his own terms and not go out trying to rehab and not being able to get back on the field, which is, I think, what he kind of saw in his future. See any players that have become available recently that you'd be interested in signing? Not particularly, Aaron. I think Gutekunst is doing a good job of churning the bottom of the roster. He's done a bunch of that this week. He'll probably continue to do so right up through the cut down to 53, and even at the cut to the initial 53, I think there'll be some movement. So, but no particular names that I think, oh my gosh, this is the missing piece, is the missing link. And that's the other thing. More often than not, a lot of these names are so transient for this next kind of 10-day period. The core of this team has been together for the most part since the draft and will continue to, form the nucleus of the 2019 Green Bay Packers. And I'm here for it. Adrian Amos, game-winning pick 6 week 1 or nah? Reed, I'm going to go with a nah, only because I fully expect it to be a Devontae Adams burning of Clinton Dix Rodgers to Adams touchdown game winner. Who wins the QB2 spot? Does Kaiser go to the Colts as a backup? I think that's a possibility, I guess, as far as that last part. But I don't think the competition is over. I think Boyle made a really good statement last Thursday, but I think they'll get every opportunity against the Chiefs, and then they'll make the decision after Thursday. But I don't think Boyle's won anything at this point. Martin. Do we trade for Jadeveon Clowney? No. You think we will get a veteran linebacker before Thursday? And if so, who do you like? I don't. I think they just went and got a bunch of guys. They signed the Ravens linebacker, whose name escapes me at the moment. They got him off of waivers. Signed a couple other guys. I know in this day of fantasy football, everybody thinks they're going to go out and get a name they recognize, like, say, Mason Foster or something. But I don't think that's how Gutekunst operates. I think he's very much like Ted in that regard. I know I'm late to this, but KGB's YouTube channel, yikes. Yeah, Tony, it's a very particular brand of something. But yeah, I went down that rabbit hole last year, and there is only one word for it. You are correct. That word is yikes. Have you played Madden 20? You bet I have, Casey. I got to tell you, it's an adjustment. That new offense, you get used to that McCarthy offense for 13 years, and then all of a sudden you got a new offense you got to work out. That's a little bit of an adjustment. I'm not going to lie. Do you remember the Packers handing the ball off to Gilbert Brown on a goal line situation ever? They did once, yes. I can't remember the particular game, but I know they did it, yes. Back against the wall, and you have to pick the cornerback to help you the most this season, Brown or King? Oh, well, it's a silly hypothetical, isn't it? But, if we're being crazy, hypothetical, and living in magical la-la land, then Kevin King and Tony Brown are both completely healthy, so give me Kevin King. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, what player would affect the Packers the most if they respectfully pulled an Andrew Luck? Ooh, that's a good question, Zach. Outside of Rodgers, probably Bakhtiari. Maybe Adams. I mean, those two are the ones that leap to mind. Do you see U71 making a comeback? That's a good question, Aaron. I don't know. If those of you who may not know what that reference is, Kevin Barry back in the day wore number 71 under Mike Sherman, and they would go to this jumbo package where he would report as an tackle eligible, and they would run behind Kevin Barry. I think an extra tackle, McCray, coming in as that extra tackle. We've seen that a couple times at practice. So there's a possibility. Maybe, obviously, it won't be called U71, but that type of thing. Anders, thank you so much for the shout out. Thank you. VJ in here with Star Trek greater than Star Wars nonsense. I mean, if you're a gigantic nerd who has no taste, yeah, Star Trek is much better. But you do you, man. I think I've convinced myself the O-line will hold their own against the Bears D-line. Whew. Well, here's the thing. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of game plan they put together to attack the Bears defense and how different it is in regards to LaFleur bringing in this new system that is the anti-McCarthy. One of the biggest problems and issues they had against the Bears, especially down in Chicago, was all of the tackles left on an island stuff that they were asked to do. With more condensed formations, more running, more emphasis on the running game, that would tend to, make one think that there's going to be less instances of those guys being left one-on-one against Mack, against Smith, against these pass rushers that can give you all sorts of problems when it's 3rd and long and you got to drop back and leave those guys one-on-one. Now, that's not to say they won't have one-on-ones, but far less of them, hopefully, will lead to better results. Mike, thanks for the super chat. I can see it now. Rodgers' contract runs out and Andrew Luck comes out of the retirement and wins the Super Bowl for the Pack. Sorry, a guy can dream. I love this dream. I'm happy to be a part of it. Let's do it. Northwoods, Wisconsin, thanks for the super chat. Love the channel, Aaron. Thank you. Will Rodgers be forced, quote unquote, to scramble and buy time in the system like he did under McCarthy? Well, easy on the word forced there, my friend. I mean, some of that is Rodgers. As Ben Fennell has been screaming into the oblivious void all summer. There's plenty of tape. And I said this during the season, and I got attacked as a Rodgers hater, etc. But there is tape to show, there are open looks under McCarthy, in McCarthy's offense, that Rodgers turned down in favor of trying to find a bigger play. So it's not that he's forced. So will Rodgers do less of that under LaFleur? One can only hope. Let's pray to our football gods if that's the case. Jim, thanks for the super chat, buddy. Packer transplants this week. Nope, no transplants this week. We'll be back the following week. Corey is leaving for Wisconsin on Wednesday. I am staying here in New York, but we will be back prior to week 1. When is the final 53 announced? Brandy, the cut down is Saturday. It is due Saturday, I believe at 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern. The Packers are always one of the last teams to actually announce it, but reporting around it will come out throughout the afternoon. Percy Harvin just came out of retirement. Thoughts on Matthew's words? Surprised. Katie, no, I'm not. For those of you that missed it, we got a post up on She Said TV about Clay Matthews telling NFL.com that, he was under the impression or thought he'd be back in Green Bay, probably on a hometown discount. And the Packers pretty much said thanks, but no thanks. Matthews went into some bit of detail regarding, Brian Gutekunst giving him a call basically the day before his contract was up and saying there's just no money for you, and wishing him well in all his further endeavors. Matthews saying he was surprised. He thought he'd have a few more years in Green Bay, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not surprised that Clay maybe was a bit hurt by that. His joking tweet when they handed Rashawn Gary number 52. I'm not surprised at that aspect, and I'm not surprised the Packers wanted to move on. I mean, I do think he will have a few more productive years out in L.A., but it was time. It was time to make a break. They clearly wanted to start a new chapter in Green Bay Packers football, and they did so, turning the page from Clay and Nick Perry. Went out and spent at the outside linebacker spot, went out and drafted Gary. Definitely trying to make a clean break, and I think moving on from Clay was part of that. Best Packers receiver of my lifetime? Pat, that's Sterling Sharp. 100 billion%. One of the greatest football players I ever saw in person in any game ever. I mean, not just receivers, football players. He was incredible, and it is absolutely absurd that he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Is Lane Taylor still on this team if he loses out to Jenkins? 50-50, Brian. It really depends, I think, on bodies elsewhere. I would tend to think so. I would certainly keep him around. But, if they like what they have as far as other interior guys, McCray plays all 3 positions, who knows? I would keep him around, but they may not. We'll see. And it is still very much an open competition, as per LaFleur. Will Adams be the touchdown leader for receivers this year? He's always been close. You mean in the NFL? I doubt it. I think the opportunities will be a little less than they were in years prior, but I still think he's going to score a boatload of touchdowns. Thoughts on Raven Green? Having a great camp, really physical guy, smart guy. Love what he brings to the defense. Anxious to see him in that 3 safety set. He's going to have to work. He's going to have to do a lot now that Josh Jones has moved on. He's going to be asked to do quite a bit of the dirty work down there in the box. I'm here for it. The front office seems to really like getting rid of good players, so Taylor has to be gone. I don't know about all that, Eric, but I mean, is Josh Jones a good player? They get rid of guys that they think don't really fit anymore. And I think Lane does, but we'll see. How much more does Devontae have to do throughout the rest of his career to replace Sterling Sharp in my mind? It's impossible, Seth. They're just different. They're different types of players, different players entirely. And I love Devontae. He's incredible. But he is not one of the greatest football players of all time, which Sterling Sharp is. Sorry. It's just night and day. Does Carson actually have a shot at the roster? I think so. I mean, it all depends how just list of injuries here. It all depends on, I think, where they think Burks is, his situation. It's going to be interesting. I think you look at what they're going to do as far as Williams in the running back spot. what they're going to do as far as how can they keep 4, but still not have to, I don't know, go light someplace else. We'll see. I think he's done everything he's asked him to do. He's been better in pass pro, and he's run the hell out of the ball. So we'll see. Who is on the injured list? I'll give you a rundown real quick. Alan Lazard's got a concussion. Equiminius St. Brown dealing with the ankle that we all saw. Kevin King, clearly still the hamstring. Ibrahim Campbell is on the PUP, still recovering from the knee injury he suffered at the end of last year. Bolton, knee. Oren Burks. I know there's some news percolating out there about his pec. Malcolm Johnson, we don't know. Kabion Ento, a hamstring. That's the corner. Greg Roberts, he hasn't practiced. He's still on PUP. He's got a core muscle injury. Cole Madison, we don't know what he's dealing with. Corey Lindsley is the new addition to this list. He was dealing with a biceps injury earlier in camp, but we don't know if this is the same thing. Jimmy Graham's still dealing with that finger, and Reggie Gilbert has a knee injury. Did Green Bay miss out by not getting Dorsey as GM? I don't think so. I mean, I love John, but I like Brian too. And while I definitely think John is building a contender over there in Cleveland, he certainly walked into an unbelievable situation as far as, you know, the assets he already had on hand and then the draft capital that was left to him by the previous regime. So I do think he's a good general manager, but I don't think he's worlds better than what they ended up with in Brian. Do you think Josh Jackson will be ready to go and start early this season? I think he'll be ready to go. I think he'll play probably in dime packages early on, but I don't think he'll be a starter right out of the gate week 1. He's missed a lot of time. Now, if he absolutely dominates this week in practice, really shows out in the preseason game if he plays, and then kills it in practice leading up to September 5th, maybe. But I think it's a long shot as far as him being a starter. I do think he'll contribute, no doubt about it. Bakhtiari injured. Brian, he was out of practice yesterday, but he was back today. So whatever he's dealing with, and we don't know, but whatever it was, he seems good to go. And A-okay. Really would love a record of 10-6. James, I think that's a successful season. After 2 losing seasons, 6-9-1, to have that kind of improvement under a rookie head coach, yes, I think that would be very good. Does Vitale become the 3rd running back and we roster only Jones and Jamal Dexter to the practice squad? Bill, that's certainly a possibility. There's no doubt that they really like Vitale's versatility. They used him earlier this summer in a one-back set. Once Jones and Williams were dealing with their hamstring injuries, he was doing a lot with the ones in a one-back set. So clearly they are comfortable with him doing so. I don't think that's optimal. We were talking about Carson earlier. Maybe he makes it interesting, but I think what the scenario you just laid out, definitely a possibility. Who has more to prove this week, Shepard or Lazard? I would say Lazard, just because the Shepard's value is so apparent because not only is he killing it from scrimmage, but he's also gives you a lot in the return game. So I think his value, his ceiling is pretty obvious. With Lazard, you're still like, how can he keep it up? Is he continuing to progress? But he's certainly shown out in camp and in preseason. Just a question of, I tend to think he's probably auditioning for other teams. I'd be surprised if there's room for him on the 53, but you never know. Jamon need a big game to stick around? Brian, I would think so. A big week of practice and a big game. Outside of that, I can't imagine he makes the team. Will Davis be in the wide receiver race? Craig, I think so. Absolutely. Outstanding game up there in Canada. We'll see what kind of week of practice he has and or what he does in the final preseason game. But yes, he's definitely in the mix. No question. Will the O-line keep Aaron Rodgers on his feet? Well, the O-line and the new scheme. I think that combination will help. But Billy Turner at right guard certainly helps things along. And we'll see what happens with the competition between Elton Jenkins and Lane Taylor. I think both are more than capable. But like I said, ultimately, I think the running game and the scheme are the things that will help Aaron Rodgers more than anything else. Mike, thanks so much for the super chat. Watch party this week? No, there will be no watch party for Thursday night's game. I will be doing a extra cheese live chat after the game, though. But during the game, Corey's going to be in Green Bay. I'm going to be here, and I will chat with everyone after it's over. Best place to eat in Green Bay? About 30 minutes south, my mother's table, but don't all show up there. In Green Bay, when I was there with Corey, we ate a bunch of spots. I'm trying to think of the best meal I had while I was there. Blue was good. What was the other one? The place in what's it called? Across from the Lodge Kohler. Lodge Kohler's restaurant is pretty good. But for me, ultimately, you guys know, I go to Kroll's. I get a butter burger. That's my favorite. If Rodgers abruptly retired like Andrew Luck did, do you think he would get the same negative reaction? You mean from Packers fans? I doubt it. I don't doubt if he was in a game at a preseason contest on the sideline and walked at halftime after the news broke, there'd be some yahoos booing. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, all you got to do is check Twitter. People want him cut or traded. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I got hammered at Kroll's once. Hey, Tony, so did I. Amazing. Please stop the chat. Just got off work and I can't leave till you're finished. All right, Bob. Well, it has been 20 minutes, so I'm gonna listen to Bob. And if you don't want me to stop, you can blame Bob. Thanks a lot for the questions, everybody. Sorry if I couldn't get to yours, but Bob wanted me to stop. Please check out all our social stuff at Cheesehead TV, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you like what we do, please consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/CheeseheadTV, $5 a month. It supports everything we do at Cheesehead TV, not just our video stuff, but our content on the website, everything that we bring you guys each and every day, covering the green and gold. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night.